Yeah, absolutely. Good morning. How are we doing? Appreciate you guys being here. It's another week, with the 21 football team. I talked to the guys Monday after the game. I'll kind of give you an update on where we are. We are not playing to our standard right now. And it's I don't care necessarily who we play, but can we go play the best of our ability? And that's always been the goal here. So we have too many missed assignments, and we're not playing with the kind of effort that is the standard of our program. We got to go to work. We got to practice better. I said that a week ago. It really hasn't changed. We got to practice better. We got to create the right habits that give us a chance to do those things in a game. And that's kind of where we are. I mean, really, in a nutshell, that's where we are. We got to go do a better job. We got to get coached up better. We got to eliminate all these self-inflicted wounds that are they're off the chart right now. And that's got to be better. And really, that's the focus right now is us and practice. And that's it. And fixing this stuff. And as coaches, we got to get to a point we get things clear and concise where we can go do the things necessary to go play at a high level. And that's what we got to do. And that's why I told them after the game, and then in a little more probably a little tougher manner yesterday. But those are things that we can control. You always hear control the controllables. These are things we can control. We can control going to the right person. Sometimes you're not going to get them blocked every time. That's a different story. But we can go to the right person. We can line up the right way. We can take the right person. We can avoid, jumping off sides and things that we can control. So really that's where we are. From a practice standpoint, that's what we got to go fix. And you fix those in practice, you create the right habits. We're getting a few guys back. We're still not where we need to be from a health standpoint, but it's a little better. It's just, you get those guys back that hadn't practiced in a couple weeks, and you're a couple weeks behind in the conditioning and all the things that go with it. So we're navigating that as we go, but we got to go do it and see where we can go. So obviously we're playing a team in Wofford that I think we're somewhat familiar with. They're familiar with us. We've played them 2 years in the playoffs in 18 and 19. Both really, really good football games. They're a really good football program. Coach Conklin does a great job. I don't see it being any different. We're going to go up there. It's going to be, we're going to have to go play extremely well, to beat a really good football team that obviously, has been atop of the Southern Conference over the years. And we've obviously faced them in the playoffs and had to fight to win both those games that we played them. And those games are in the past, but I do think both teams are somewhat familiar with each other. So we got to go get ready to play. And again, they're a very good football team. They've only played one game this fall, but we got to go take care of us first to even have a chance to compete with them. So I'll open the floor for questions.
You said you're getting some guys back. I'm looking at the depth chart. Looks like all the transfers have kind of settled into the starting role, or at least are listed as first team, and Murph is listed as first team. Is Murph coming back? Everybody?
Murphy, I hope he gets back this week. He didn't practice yesterday, but so hopefully he gets back this week. I think some of those guys on the depth are, there's still a lot of moving parts right now, and it's day to day, to be honest with you. I think some of the guys just need to be more consistent, but up front on the offensive line, an area Matt Olson's back practicing yesterday for the first time in a while, which is encouraging. To help there. And then if we can keep the other guys out there, we're getting closer to getting a group back that we can actually go get some consistency with practice. Same thing on the back end. Hopefully getting everybody back out there, will help us with some consistency of going to be able to practice at a high level and getting those guys dialed into doing their job. So it's better. It's going to take a while. This is not something in a week that all of a sudden everything's going to be better, but we're still a little bit banged up in some areas, and we'll just kind of see how it goes.
When you reviewed the film and had your talks with the guys, after the game you said you were pleased with the fight and you were pleased with some of the things that happened there in the fourth quarter. Throughout the game, is there anything that when you went back to see what are the things that stood out to you?
So you could take the first drive on both sides of the ball and define the missed assignments, just whether it's not going to the right guy or whatever it might be, or not going in tail motion when the ball gets pitched on the ground, or not taking the running back on the first play of the game when they had the ball, or on 3rd and 8 when we're in 3 deep but nobody's in the middle of the field. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand what 3 deep is, but nobody's in the middle of the field. These are all self-inflicted wounds. So I look at this and I go, all right, we got to do a better job on our end, first of all. Kids got to go do their job. And if we do those things, well, maybe the beginning of the game is different. Maybe this thing starts out a little bit different. Maybe it takes on a different path than it did. You don't know because it didn't happen. But that's just the first 2 drives. That's the first drive on each side of the ball. You could go through, and I did, and we went through each one. All right, here's where we are. Here's what happened. And there's, there are good, you look at last week. I mean, there's going to be some times you're not going to win. Like, you're going to go block a guy, and he's going to whip you. You're going to miss some tackles on number 1 and the other. I mean, both their running backs. That's stuff that's going to happen because they're good players. But going to the right person and doing the right thing is something that we got to get better at. And I said that after the game. And I said it to them because it was very obvious during the game. And those are things we can control. And that's really what we have to do. There were some positives that we didn't. We kept fighting and had some things happen late when you could have, really thrown the towel in. So that was the stuff. Really, it was. Sometimes I watch the game and I have a different view than I did after the game, but it was pretty much what it was. Probably a little bit worse on some of the missed assignment stuff than you could see during the game. But it was that we didn't play well. We could have played a lot better. We did fight and finish the game. That was positive. Listen, we got good kids. I told y'all they've had a good attitude, but we're at a point right now we gotta get some stuff fixed. Like this, we can't survive, with this many missed assignments. We just can't survive. You're not gonna be able to win ball games doing this. So we got to go get that fixed. And I say we, it's all of us.
With Wofford, you mentioned the 2 playoff games. They, like, you want to run the ball first. When you have
planning to number of possessions, we've really never done it. I think what we do is go put together a plan, to give our kids the best chance to be successful, win the game. We've never got into, we're playing so-and-so, we're only going to get 4 possessions in the first half and 4 in the second half, whatever that might be. We've never really had those discussions. I think we've always we want to score every time we got the ball. You know what I mean? And we want them to punt every time, they get the ball. Like that's just always been our expectation. So those discussions haven't come up a ton. As far as conversation, it's really just go put together a plan and to win the game, and that's offense, defense, special teams, and the games always take on their own identity once you get in them, and you have to navigate that as you go. Not a ton of discussion on number of possessions and trying to. I think if you get in that discussion, you'll get outside of who you are. And you start trying to say, well, we only got 2 more left. Now you're getting in a world that's not you. And I think that's the worst thing you can do until you have to. Until you might get forced to do it, but until you have to, I think you could get into something that's not who you are.
Looks like KSU's entire offensive line, defensive line, they've all played over there, and some other players. It looks like their roster is nearly 100% different from when you guys played them in 19. So, who stands out to you from them, and have they changed the way they've done things because of the personnel?
Yeah, they are. They do have their personnel is different from when we played them in 19. There's no question about that. They're a little bit different offensively. I don't know how different because really we've only got one game from this year. The spring for them, like a lot of folks for the spring, they were beat up. It was just all kinds of stuff going on. I don't know how much you can technically put into the spring just because it was what it was, right? But they've only played one game. They don't run quite as much option maybe as they've have in the past. They still doing it some, but they do. We were counting up on defense. I think the two linebackers are good players, but there's only probably 3 or 4 guys over there that played against us in 19, maybe one more. But a lot of the guys are different. They're new, and I think it's across the board. It's a little different than us per se when we do have a lot of guys that did play in that game. And I don't. I mean, that's just for whatever reason as far as their roster goes and what's going on. I don't really know. But they've always been good. They've always done a good job, and I don't see that being any different. Saturday night. And I can promise you this now. We beat them 2 years in the playoffs. I guarantee you, they're going to be ready. You know what I mean? That's 2 years that, truthfully, they probably didn't think we should beat them either year, and we did. And so I promise you, they're going to be ready. They're going to be highly motivated. They've had a week off. You know what I mean? All the things you could imagine, and they're going to be ready to go. So we better be ready to match that.
So, going back to the Georgia Tech game, Coach, Caleb O'Neal lined up at receiver, lined up on the line of scrimmage, put his hand in the turf a lot. Requires a lot of effort. How did his effort grade for the receivers shape out in that Tech game?
Well, Caleb O'Neal is an effort guy. That's who he is, and that's how he's got on the field here. I thought he did some really good things. Obviously, first drive we put him in, and we get a nice third down conversion, which was huge. If we could have kept that thing going, would have been a heck of a drive. But Caleb plays extremely hard. He's an all-in guy. Thought he did some really good things as far as his effort. Those guys don't get the ball a ton. We are able to throw the ball a little bit more. Too much on Saturday. When you get behind, you have to throw it more than you need to. But we are able to, and we feel confident about those guys, especially Caleb making plays. He called a little hitch route as well. So he's done good things, and I think he's one of the leaders of that group. And so we expect big things from Caleb. Whatever we ask him to do, Caleb's just one of those guys. Just tell me what you want me to do, Coach, and I'll go do it. I was giving him a hard time coming over here. I said, hey, I got a press conference. You want to go do it? He kind of looked at me like, whatever you need, Coach, I'll do it. But he was saying, no, I really don't want to go to the press conference, Coach. But Caleb's always been one of those guys, man. He's all in. Those receivers are doing a good job. The group as a whole, I think they're bought into what we're trying to do. We all got to get better in a lot of areas, and I've already communicated that. But I think those guys are playing hard. We just got to be more consistent with the whole group. But proud of Caleb's progress. I love his attitude, love the way he goes about his business. That's who he is, and that's who we want to be as a team.
Opportunity for Coach Burks to go back to Wofford this week. How's he approached it here for the first few days of game week?
No different than any other week. I think, he just got sidetracked for a little bit of time. He lost his way for a year. No, I'm just kidding. Not much different. Chandler, as you know, as a player and now as a coach, man, he's way beyond his years. Like, even as a player, he was just way beyond his years, and as a coach, it's no different. Like, you would think he'd been doing this thing for 10 years, sitting in there in the room with him, right? So it's fun to be around, fun to watch his growth and how intelligent and how he's taken his role as being the quarterback here. And now he's taken that role to being the quarterback coach and two-back coach. I think it's really, I'm kind of sitting in on all of it. And he's doing a great job with his room. and he has a lot to offer when it comes to game planning, and ideas and stuff, and how to do things and thoughts, and as well as our offensive staff. But I don't know that it's any different. I mean, they've had some coaching changes there as well and some different stuff. So, we try to put together a plan that gives us a chance to be successful, and he, as well as every member of our staff, is a part of that for sure.
And then last time going up there, Murphy set a lot of records, 200 rushing yards by quarterback. Are you all anticipating that one of the first things Wofford wants to do is not let that happen again and let a quarterback go off?
I would think so. Murphy, a couple things designed, and then several things just Murphy being Murphy in the game in 19 of making a lot of plays and all those rushing yards. But there's no question they're going to, want to make sure. Like I said, some of it was just him being Murphy and being really athletic and making some plays. Some of it was kind of by design, and we were able to fit some things up and hit some big plays at critical moments. So I'm sure there's no question, just as we go look at the tape and say, oh, these are the things we got to be able to do, they're going to do the same thing, no doubt about it. So I think there's no question. Those things that happen, they're going to try to find a way to stop that for sure.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Coach.
All right, thank y'all.